Obviously, killing zombies isn't immoral, but what if the situation is a bit more ambiguous? What's up, guys? I'm a Son of Benedict, and I just started playing Resident Evil. No, I don't mean the new one, I mean at all. The Resident Evil 2 remake is my first game in the series. I am way late to the game when it comes to the story of Resident Evil. I looked up the storyline of the games, and there's so much there I can't in good conscience comment on it. So why am I making this video if I'm so Resident Evil illiterate? Well, this particular video is more about zombies in general, with Resident Evil as a backdrop. Is it moral to kill a zombie? Well, yes, but only if you understand what a zombie is. There are many, many, many different versions of zombieism in media, and it's very hard to get a consistent definition of zombie. However, here is what remains relatively consistent among all of them, and the definition we will work with in this video. First, a zombie acts on instinct, not free will. The instinct of a zombie is to spread the zombie virus by biting. Second, not all of the zombie's internal organs need to function, but the brain must be working. Thus, the classic zombie scenario where the only way to kill a zombie is to destroy the brain. Last and most notably, the zombie must be dead and decaying. They're called the Walking Dead for a reason. With the zombie being a walking dead body, this means that there is no soul in the zombie, thus making it not human. Killing a zombie is not the equivalent of killing a human. As many of you probably know, zombie viruses tend to not take over immediately. There's a transition period where a person becomes a zombie. Usually, this is the phase of infection that can be cured, as in the case of several Resident Evil viruses. However, there is a point of no return where a person has ceased to exist and has turned into a zombie. The term turned, that's a mouthful, will be used from now on to describe this point of no return. With this understanding of zombies, let's look at the situations presented in Resident Evil. This is Emma Kendo, the daughter of a gun shop owner. She is infected with what Resident Evil calls the T virus, or Tyrant virus, which is your basic zombie virus with no clarifications. It spreads through bites and not much else. Emma is looking rather horrific by the time the player gets to her. The father defends his infected daughter when Ada says that Emma needs to be terminated. Leon convinces Ada to let them go. The father picks up his infected daughter, goes into a back room, and shoots her off screen. Is it right to kill Emma before she turns? Most zombie media seems to say yes, but just because the majority says so doesn't make it right. Now, obviously, the Catholic Church has no teaching on zombies, that would be stupid, but it does have teachings on euthanasia, which is the closest real-life equivalent. For those who don't know, euthanasia means mercy killing, that is, killing someone who's undergoing immense suffering. The Catechism of the Catholic Church says that whatever its motives and means, direct euthanasia consists in putting an end to the lives of handicapped, sick, or dying persons. It is morally unacceptable. That's it. That's all we have to work with. Just those two sentences. Ah, crap. Well, the first question to ask is if the act of killing Emma is euthanasia at all. She is considered to be sick and dying, so it would appear that the answer is that we can't kill her. However, the Catechism doesn't take into account whether or not the sick person will become an active threat if any more time passes. Is it okay then? In Catholic moral theology, there is something called the principle of double effect, which states that something that causes a moral evil may be done as long as it satisfies four conditions. The good effect outweighs the bad, there are no other options, the evil effect is not intended, and the good cannot be a direct result of the evil. In the case of Emma, no one would say that killing this innocent little girl was intended. But the good of killing a zombie to stop the spread of the virus is the direct result of killing Emma. This would seem to say that killing Emma before she turns is immoral. So, killing Emma is immoral from the Catholic perspective. Perhaps the best option, if it is wrong to kill her, is to restrain her in some way and kill her after she turns. Maybe confine her into her room? This would be the best scenario, although it's a hard one to emotionally execute. Although, this seems to me to be the best option, unfortunately. I'm about to show my ignorance of the series here a little bit, but some of you may bring up the topic of a cure for Emma. This would change the entire scenario, and Resident Evil does like to have cures for its zombie viruses. However, in the situation presented with Emma, no one in the room was aware of a cure, and it is thus out of the equation. If a cure were known and attainable, curing Emma would of course be the moral thing to do. Alas, there is no cure, and we are left with a difficult decision. The T virus isn't the only zombie making virus in the Resident Evil series. This is the G, or Golgotha, a super mutant capable of bouncing back from anything. Golgotha, like the place where Jesus died, and the G resurrects every time you kill it. Interesting naming there. But I digress. You literally cannot kill this thing, except by obliterating every last cell in its body. This guy's healing factor rivals Deadpool's, good grief. This monster is obviously hostile and tries to kill you all throughout Resident Evil 2. So, why do I bring it up? Well, the human that you see here isn't quite dead. The G is not a complete zombie, at least not in the traditional sense. The documents spread throughout the game tell you that the G virus very quickly eliminates all rational thought in the infected subject. But the first time you fight him, he's not completely gone, it would seem. Something's weird about this first fight. The G doesn't make normal zombie moaning sounds. It sounds far more human. There's also this scene. This little girl is Sherry. She is the daughter of the man infected with the G virus. And here's the G coming out of nowhere and inadvertently saving her life? 5 seconds later, he tries to attack her, but still, it almost seems like a father protecting his daughter. Astute observers may notice and say, these are two different types of zombies. This is a tyrant and this is a G. Maybe they attack each other normally since they aren't the same species, so to speak. That would be a great observation, if it were true at all. Problem is, there's some minor forms of the G virus in the sewer standing alongside T virus zombies, and they don't attack each other. It's explained in some documents that the reason the G is hunting Sherry, the infected father hunting his daughter, is because the G virus cannot spread unless the infected subject is genetically similar enough to the one being infected. However, even with all of this, there seems to almost be a paternal factor in this scene. Unless the G actively kills a tyrant just to spread its infection, then we have a man that is conscious in a zombified body. Given all this information, is it moral to kill the G? Yes. Unequivocally, yes. The difference between this scenario and Emma's is that the G is already completely infected. He's turned. Even if the human still had some function over the body, it's in a losing battle. That, and by the time you fight stage 3, the human is completely gone. So, while the human may be able to resist, it will ultimately lose and become a zombie. So, kill that thing with fire! I can hear the Catholic rage fire happening in the background, claiming I just justified euthanasia, but let me explain. The G has turned. Here's how he got infected. Yes, the idiot injected himself with the virus. A few moments later, he's killing the soldiers who invaded his lab. He could have reasoned his way into killing those soldiers, but what he couldn't have reasoned was attacking Leon in this scene. Chronologically, this scene takes place not too long after he killed the soldiers. Leon had never met this man, had never offended him, even indirectly. There is no reasoning here. While it may sound human, he's turned. Oh, and about the G killing this tyrant to protect his daughter, yeah, that was me speculating. I have no way to confirm this. That, and I'm fairly certain the game wants you to think he killed the tyrant just to infect Sherry. For those of you looking back through the video for the double effect definition, it doesn't actually apply here. Double effect kicked in when the infected person hadn't turned yet. The G has already turned. The real question to be answered was whether or not the infected human was in control of his actions, and he definitely isn't. For those of you thinking about the cure, which is known and attainable at this point in the game, it is unlikely that the human would survive even if cured. The only reason Sherry is cured of the same virus is because she hasn't turned yet. Unless this is explained in another Resident Evil game, we have no way of knowing if the cure would allow the infected person to live. And Resident Evil has demonstrated that cures to the viruses tend to kill people who have already turned. Also, yes, I am ignoring the fact that the G is William Birkin, one of the most evil characters in the series. This scenario was about the morality of killing the G if he was just a regular schmo. This is where we get to the hardest question. Resident Evil 7's mold. For those who don't know, the mold in Resident Evil is a fungus-based zombie that's under the direct control of a girl named Evelyn. Evelyn mind controls those who are infected, and she has complete control over them, although some are able to resist. This brings us to Mia Winters. In the opening sections of the game, you encounter a very distraught Mia trying to escape. Not 5 minutes later, she's trying to kill you. Mia fades in and out of control of her own body, swapping between Mia herself and Evelyn. But she does have rationality and free will still. She can resist. Is it moral to kill her? Well, even if it were, good luck trying to do that, because part of the deal is that people infected by the mold are effectively immortal. Taking immortality out of the question, should you kill Mia? No, and here's why. First of all, there is a cure, and you actually can use it on Mia in the game, and she is in fact cured by the end. There is a little bit of a debate of whether or not she was cured by the serum or with the death of Evelyn, but this will have to be set aside. Well, that one was easy, except no. What if there wasn't a cure? At the beginning of the game, there's obviously no way for anyone to know about a cure. So, even if you could kill Mia, should you? Still no. Since she still fades back into control of her body, it would be immoral to kill her. Let me explain this by asking another question. Is it moral to kill someone who has an extreme mental disorder and attacks you, but most of the time he's normal? No. Mia has the same problem, except that her disorder gives her super strength. There is a case, a very strong one in fact, to make regarding self-defense. Yes, you have a right to defend yourself if you're being attacked by a maniac with a chainsaw. However, if you understand Mia's situation, the best course of action would be to run like hell, find a cure, and heal her. If there is no cure, God help you. Another caveat to this particular question is that of the Baker family. They are infected with the same virus and have been infected for the same amount of time as Mia, yet I would say it was moral to kill them. Why? Because they're long gone. They've turned. They have no control over their minds. And Jack's talk with Ethan in this weird dream sequence, he says that Evelyn takes control of their mind and soul, and it isn't simple mind control. Jack and most of his family are long gone and have no hope to be saved, especially since what cured Mia killed Jack. You may have noticed that I said Evelyn takes control of their mind and soul. Yes, this is very strange, and it would make everything fall apart, and it wouldn't be moral to kill any of them except by self-defense, which, let's face it, it's the entire game. You come at me with a scissor chainsaw, you will get a shotgun to the face. That and Jack mentioning the soul may just be an expression. This video was an exploration into the moral decisions that we make in video games every time we play. We often don't think about these decisions and just keep shooting bad guys, but we should sit back and reflect sometimes on what the game is actually doing and actually saying to us. Regardless of everything I've said here, this is all an ideal to strive for. We don't always make the right call, especially not in situations like this. While I can lay out the moral framework for these things, I can't tell you what this kind of situation would actually do to me personally. People in the situation have to think these things through in a matter of seconds, and sometimes there is no thinking, only dodging giant zombies. But it's important to reflect on the decisions of the characters in our favorite games. And remember that we may know the moral framework, but only God can judge us innocent or guilty. And thank God that zombies aren't real. Saint Benedict and Saint Scholastica, pray for us.